If you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
The FBI is working to determine whether the Tesla Cybertruck explosion earlier today is possibly connected to the New Orleans attack. Here's the moment. Police say fireworks, gas tanks and camping fuel were detonated in the bed of this vehicle. The FBI also trying to figure out whether it was an act of terrorism. Local police spoke to the glaring possibility of a connection.
It is quite unusual that both the drivers in these incidents rented their cars from Turo. And authorities say the driver rented the Cybertruck in Colorado via the Turo app before driving down to Las Vegas.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
We got some big breaking news right now about the suspected Cybertruck bomber out front of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. This mirrors Midas Touch's reporting yesterday. This from the Daily Beast. The man suspected of being behind Tesla's Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas was a, quote, big supporter of Donald Trump and voted for him in November. A senior law enforcement official tells the Daily Beast. This revelation came from an interview between Matthew Leibelsberger's loved ones and investigators, the source said. His family added they believe the 37-year-old Green Beret who died in Wednesday's blast outside Trump International Hotel was a registered Republican, and this tracks with his old Facebook comments that were uncovered by us here at Midas Touch.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
We have some huge breaking news right now. There appears to be some type of connection between the individual responsible for the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas and the individual responsible for the terrorist attack in New Orleans. According to ABC News and Denver 7, the two men responsible for the separate attacks served at the same military base. And authorities are now investigating a possible link and a possible connection between what happened in Vegas and what happened in New Orleans. The individual responsible for the Vegas Cybertruck explosion goes by the name of Matthew Leibelsberger. He rented a Cybertruck in Colorado Springs, drove it to Nevada, packed it with firework mortars and gas cans before exploding it in front of the Trump International Hotel. Shamsud Din Jabbar, meanwhile, was the individual responsible for the New Orleans terrorist attack, driving from Houston, Texas to Louisiana on a car he also rented on Turo. Both men were confirmed to be Army veterans, and both instances are being investigated as acts of terrorism. And now there is a possible link between the two suspects' military service combo.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle. Our subject is 37-year-old Matthew Leibelsberger. He's of Colorado Springs, Colorado. There are a number of things in this case that are similar to the attack in New Orleans. We do know that our subject here served in the military. In fact, he's a current member of the military. I also know that they both served in Afghanistan in 2009. And we also know, of course, that they both used the rental company Turo to rent their vehicles. As far as his military background, it's been confirmed by DOD that he was indeed in the United States Army.
There's also this connection, this potential, I suppose, military connection between this individual in Las Vegas and what took place in New Orleans. And I mean, I know we don't have any established connections or that we know about publicly at this point from official sources, but what do you make of that potential connection? I mean, that sounds like too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
As a former senior member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, both in New York and Los Angeles, the idea that you've got two people with military backgrounds, one former, one active, that they go to the same off-brand rental car company, the Turo company, to rent these exotic vehicles, that they both do attacks in tourist locations on a holiday, but you certainly can't ignore it. Too many factors there.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle. We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
Trump family continues to spread lies about the event that took place on New Year's, Donald Trump's son, Trump Jr., also decided that this was a key opportunity for him to spread false information about the tragedy in order to spread his political agenda. Instead of sharing any condolences or even factual information, Trump Jr. says, quote, "Biden's parting gift to America, migrant terrorists." Except here's what Trump Jr. doesn't want you to know. The suspect was not a migrant. He was not an illegal immigrant who crossed the southern border. The fact of the matter is he was born and raised in Texas. This is objectively true, and the only people who don't understand that are the people who get their news from Donald Trump and his family.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. And
are you going to fire those generals? The woke generals at the top? Keep the top.
Yes, I would get rid of them, yeah. But then we will deport the foreign jihad sympathizers, and we will deport them very quickly, and Hamas supporters will be gone. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China.
It has just been reported that Donald Trump plans to deploy the military against civilian demonstrations to...
The bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Listen up, because you're all going to want to pay attention to this. Pre-9/11, the U.S. was given several warnings by a man named Ahmad Massoud, leader, commander of the Afghan National Resistance Front. Those warnings stated that there was an imminent terrorist attack that was going to happen on U.S. soil. And his warnings were completely ignored by the administration at the time. And we all know how that ended. It ended with the World Trade Center falling to the ground, killing thousands and thousands of Americans, putting us in a 20-plus year war. Now, Massoud was assassinated 2 days before 9/11, and he's survived by his son, also Ahmad Massoud, who's following in a parallel pattern of his father's footsteps, also now the leader of the Afghan National Resistance Front. And Massoud is once again warning the United States that there is an imminent threat for a terrorist attack to take place once again right here on U.S. soil. And once again, his warnings are falling on deaf ears and being completely ignored. In fact, as D.C. tries to cover up the way the Afghan withdrawal happened, they've blacklisted him from coming to the U.S. And so SRS has taken action. We've created a petition. The link is below in the description. And I urge every veteran who fought in the global war on terrorism to sign that petition. And if you have a family member who fought in that war, sign the petition. And if you're a citizen who's concerned that what Massoud is telling us is actually true and there is an imminent attack, I urge you to sign the petition. We're going to get the petition to Representative McCall, who is chairman of the House of Foreign Affairs Committee. He's over the State Department. He can get Massoud in front of Congress so Congress can hear what that man has to say about these threats and about the way that withdrawal happened. Trust me, this is in all of our best interest. Sign the petition.
If you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
It was inevitable. Martial law.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
Y'all wanted to play the fuck around game so goddamn badly. Well, you are fixing to find out very bigly.